You had more reporting on this over the weekend. I'll give credit to Chad Graff? He had the first report late last week that the Patriots could be in on Garrett Bradbury, the center for the Vikings. They went out and signed Ryan Kelly to replace him. He's about to get released, it sounds like. Mike Reese had a detail about Bradbury over the weekend. So maybe they're shoving Andrews out the door because he's dragging his feet on retiring or whatever. And so they're shoving him out the door because they don't want to miss out on getting Bradbury. I mean, maybe. The whole thing is still odd, even a few days after the fact, thinking about it and reacting to it. And Bedard was one who was perplexed as well.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I don't know if they just don't think he can come back from the injury. You know, you only played 4 games last year, and that's what they're worried about.
He even said he's like, I don't think anybody's rushing to sign David Andrews. Yeah. So, clearly he's not anywhere close to playing, it doesn't sound like.
So maybe that's what it is. It just feels odd. Like, for a team that has so many needs, why create one? And so that's what they did. That was one guy. And sure, at his age and coming off the injury, you sort of pencil his name in. You weren't going to, write it in ink. But you're like, all right, you had 2 linemen that you felt halfway decent about, and then you remove one of them, who happens to be, your only tie to, the winning teams around here. And a captain for many, many years, and you're like, no, we're moving on from him. It's like, okay, it did seem odd.
Strange. One other thing that's percolating, I saw the Twitch chat comment on this. You brought this up to me off the air as well. New rumors about Joe Milton?
Yeah, how about one of the reporters for the Cleveland Browns? So this is 2 degrees away from what the report is, but the Browns, I guess, are sniffing around. They certainly need a quarterback, and it appears as though the asking price by the Patriots might be a 3rd-round pick for Joe Milton, to which the reporter says Cleveland is out. At that price, Cleveland's like, we're not doing it. But is that a fair asking price for Joe Milton? If you're the Patriots and teams call you for Joe Milton, you're like, 3rd-round pick?
So I've said this before. I wouldn't move him for a day 3 pick. Now, we got into a little bit of a gray area when Curran suggested, would you swap Joe Milton, who the Raiders need less now after their Geno Smith trade.
True.
But would you swap Joe Milton for Jacoby Myers? I was like, yeah, I'd do that. But largely I've said I want a day 2 pick for Milton. And if I'm asking too much, well, then so be it. I'm fine with working with him, and he's a backup or even 3rd on the depth chart behind May and Dobbs. I think it's fair for the Patriots to ask a 3rd. I don't know if they're going to get it, but that's what I would want. I wouldn't want a 4th or 5th round pick for him. I'd want to keep working with him.
Yeah, I think there is value there. The Dobbs signing, though, kind of threw me off a little bit, being like, all right, are you comfortable having May and Milton as the only 2 quarterbacks on the team? Clearly not.
Well, no, the answer is no to that.
Yeah, if you're bringing in Dobbs. I mean, we saw Milton play 1 game against a bunch of backups, and it got everybody kind of all excited about it.
Couldn't it be as simple as we want to keep developing Milton? We think there's potential there.
Yeah.
But if we need to win a game or 2 and Drake May's out, Dobbs puts us in a better position to do that. We think today. Yeah. We'll see by the end of training camp and everything, but today that's what we think.
So I think if it's a 3rd-round pick, you have to do it, but I don't think anybody would do it for a 3rd-round pick. He was just available to everybody last year.
And Cleveland definitely won't do it, according to Tony Grossi.
Plus, they have a really high 3rd-round pick. 4th-round pick, I think I would be listening after that. You're like, all right, what's really the value here in return? And there's a lot more player-for-pick trades in the NFL than there is player-for-player or 2 play. You know what I mean? If it's one of those, that's where it's a little bit different. So say you're making a deal for a wide receiver, whether it's be Jacoby Myers or somebody else, and they're like, hey, instead of sending us 2 picks, give us 1 pick in Milton. Then that kind of confuses the math a little bit, and then I'd be okay with that. Because you're like, oh, you're getting the receiver that you need. Right. So whatever team that is, if they need it, people have speculated about Chris Olave from the Saints. And if for some reason it's Joe Milton and a late-round pick for Olave, then okay, fine. I'll do that. But yeah, I don't see I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see who they get in the 5th round this year. And that might be a better, more useful roster spot than Joe Milton. No, I'll take the upside in Joe Milton. See what he's got. And even though I also hope he never plays.
So that's interesting. I like that they're asking for a 3rd. They probably won't get one.
Yeah.
But then fine. Then just keep working with Joe Milton, who showed something last year. I thought people just say it was against the Bills. It wasn't just against the Bills. I thought he was better than I expected in the preseason too. Now, these aren't full-blown NFL games. It's literally the preseason and a glorified preseason game in Week 18, the 17th week of the year, against Buffalo's backups. But I think he's looked good, and I'd want to keep working with him, and I think they're good to be asking for a 3rd-round pick. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, but that's what I would want. If it's a 4th or a 5th rounder, I'd rather keep working with him.
So the Seahawks asked for a 1st and a 3rd for DK Metcalf and then got a 2nd, right? So
are they asking for a 3rd to get a 4th?
Yeah, I wonder, what would they actually accept? Because they're throwing that out there.
I would be disappointed in that. If they got a 4th, I'd be disappointed.
And you're like, why not just keep them?
Yeah,
you're right. There might just be more value to have.
That's how I feel about it. So you can jump in on this, 617-779-7937. You brought up the name Chris Olave.
Yeah.
Let's lump in Olave with Ayuk, George Pickens, like some of these other T. Higgins is now gone. Cooper Kupp is now gone. DK Metcalf has been gone. These are names that maybe if you're a glass half full Patriots fan, you're like, well, this guy's still out there and that guy's still out there. Those guys are Olave, who's had massive concussion issues in New Orleans, talented player, but that'd be a roll of the dice. George Pickens, we're projecting if he even is going to ask his way out of Pittsburgh. Now that DK Metcalf is there, I'd be interested in him. Ayuk is coming off an ACL injury. He's due a big bonus in early April that maybe the Niners don't want to pay, so that's some of the logic. I just think even if any of those guys shake free, I don't like the Patriots' chances of landing any of them. They've been in on one wide receiver, best I can tell this offseason.
Yeah, and they just missed.
And it was Chris Godwin.
So we did our top 5 wide receiver targets.
Yep.
Back on February 19th.
Okay.
My 5 were Devontae Adams.
Didn't get him.
Cooper Kupp.
Didn't get him.
Chris Godwin.
Didn't get him.
DK Metcalf.
Didn't get him.
T. Higgins.
Didn't get him.
So 0 for 5 there.
Yep.
Jones had DK Metcalf.
Didn't get him.
Devontae Adams.
Didn't get him.
Cooper Kupp.
Didn't get him.
Debo Samuel.
Nope.
Luther Burden III.
Still available.
Still available. So they got to go through the draft.
One of our 10 receivers, if you will. There's some overlap there.
There is some overlap, but
one of our receiver targets, and it's a rookie, which the Patriots have been great at drafting wide receivers. Not just under Bill, but in their history, as Tom Curran underscored a few weeks back. They can't draft receivers predating Bill, after Bill. They can't draft receivers, but okay, that's the one that's left.
Yeah, it's
you
tough.
couldn't get him yet.
So now I guess you do have to turn to that, who's going to spring free from Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens.
I mean, lump Myers in there too if you want.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers seems like maybe the most likely. He's also the lowest upside of all those guys.
By far.
He's got a pretty high floor, like what he is, but he's not like a game changer.
I'll be consistent. If I'm gonna credit Calvin Ridley for getting 1,000 yards last year, and everybody dumps all over him. Myers was a 1,000-yard receiver last year.
Yeah.
So Myers to me is an NFL 2. He'd be your 1, but he's a solid number 2 receiver.
But finally, it'd be somebody that Drake May could be excited about. Because all due respect, I'm sure he'll say great things about Mac Hollins, who also went to North Carolina, and I'm sure he'll say nice things about Morgan Moses, who came across really well, I thought, at his press conference. But there's nobody that Drake May is sitting around being like, oh, look what we did in free agency. Whereas if you're playing defense, or if you're the D coordinator, Terrell Williams, you're like, oh, my God, look at all these guys we just got.
We have a St. Patty's themed Kiefer Madness coming your way. Very rare on a Monday coming your way. Call it less than 10 minutes from now.
It's a big day, though, so we had to do it.
In the meantime, let's knock out some phone calls. Jason's in the car waiting patiently. What's up, Jason?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I'm very optimistic about the Patriots. I think we're actually going to win the division. I am so sick of hearing about a wide receiver. This has been going on since before we got Randy Moss. I'm going to tell everybody, check out Cold Hard Football Facts. There's a guy on there, Kerry Byrne. He talks about the importance of the wide receiver position. It's no more. It's the shiny hood ornament.
Okay, well, Jason, we've already gotten a call on this earlier today.
So I completely disagree.
Some of the recent champions, and we already detailed these. A.J. Brown won with the Eagles last year and had been to an additional Super Bowl. The Niners went to Super Bowls with Debo and Ayuk, if you want to stick with that. Other teams that won. Cooper Kupp won as a wide receiver Triple Crown winner.
The best season ever for a wide receiver.
You brought up Mike Evans, who was a top 10 pick in the draft. I think he was the 7th pick overall. Top 10 pick in the NFL draft, set 1,000 yards every year of his career, won a Super Bowl.
Everybody tells me Travis Kelce's a receiver, not a tight end, right? So do we use that here or do we not use that here?
Great point, Keith.
Great point.
Patriots fans, Travis Kelce is not a tight end, right?
No, but then
he's a wide receiver. The Chiefs continuously win with great point.
The game's also changed. And there was a time where Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin were winning. There was a time in between there that it wasn't as important. It has flipped now. It is incredibly important. And if you want to give me examples of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, then okay, let's just wait and get the next Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. Then you don't need the stud receivers, even though those guys did have good receivers.
Who's the best left tackle in football? Who's the best left tackle in football?
Orlando Pace.
So, who even is it right now?
Honestly,
Trent Williams.
Okay. Has Trent Williams won?
No.
So it's just a shiny hood ornament, I guess, is what that is.
Yeah.
Ronnie Stanley. Everybody really wanted Ronnie Stanley.
He must have won a lot of.
Has he won?
No.
Okay. So, I can play that game with pretty much every position not named quarterback. Okay, if you want to do that, well, what's the top left tackle one? Trent Williams is the top left tackle. Ronnie Stanley somewhere high up there. The wide receivers have won more than those guys lately.
That guy also kind of soft snitched on himself for having bad takes when he led with Pats are going to win the division. So what? Josh Allen
good
quit
point.
football?
Good point. You
Maybe he
got us
quit.
there.
He got married, quit. Got his big contract, quit.
Who's the Eagles left tackle?
My point is my point.
Is it Lane Johnson?
Mailata? No, isn't Lane
Or
Johnson a
Lane's
right tackle?
Oh, yeah.
That's Mailata.
So I don't know. Oh, it's Mailata.
I think so.
I mean, so is he the best left tackle in football? I don't think so. He just won.
know.
He's good. Is he the best one in football? 617-779-7937. You can jump in here on Jones and Keefe. We'll circle back to the Sox. More thoughts on the Patriots, their draft free agency, which is done. By the way, it's over. You can talk yourself into there's more names out there. They're pretty much all snapped up. Everybody anybody wanted is gone.